Well, who would have thought? Here we are at our very first episode.
I know, honestly. When we first talked about doing a podcast, I never actually thought it would happen, and here we are. So later on, we're going to explore the world of fox hunting and hunt sabotage, and we're really going to explain what goes on when we head out on a hit. But first, let's start with what happened in this week's hit.
Right, yes. So this past weekend, the 1st of November, we drove out to Shalford in deepest Essex to greet the Puckeridge and Essex Hunt at their opening meet of the season. And it seemed a good hit to start the podcast with, as an opening meet is always a big deal for both the hunts and therefore hunt saboteurs.
Exactly, except for the fact that it was really not much of an opening meet in the end,
No.
was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. To put it into perspective, they had around 75 field riders present at the same meet last year. And this year, we barely counted 15, 16.
It was almost embarrassing, wasn't it? I mean, the fact that this is also an amalgamation of the Puckeridge and several other hunts, which already had to merge for their businesses to survive. And now they're down to an opening meet of like 15 riders. I mean, they're not going to be around for very long, are they?
It's not looking good for them. These hunts are a business at the end of the day, and every single one of those riders are their customers. They're paying to be there. And without those customers, the money isn't there, is it? Because of what we do in disrupting these hunts in their criminal activity, it makes them furious each time they see us rock up at one of their meets.
Yeah, that annoyance really shows, doesn't it? I mean, they can often be really quite rude to us. But of course, we're always on our best behaviour.
Nothing less than pleasantries on our behalf.
Exactly. Although I did hear from the navigator in your car that that's exactly how you first introduced yourself to the hunt this weekend. A little regal wave, I believe it was, while they were all still having their drinks and
No, it
speeches.
was a royal wave. It was a royal wave. Although the waves I got back were of a different distinction.
Well, I mean, they had every reason to be annoyed, didn't they? Because despite them desperately trying to hide the location and failing to draw in the crowds, we easily managed to find them and keep the numbers up.
Yeah. So we had 3 full vehicles, or nearly full vehicles. We had 23 hunt saboteurs out.
I mean, outnumbering the hunt, I must add.
Exactly. And we worked incredibly hard. And when you have that many people working very hard, running their socks off, you're going to do well. We were incredibly successful. I'd go so far as to say it was a textbook hit. You know, as sort of group leader, I'm constantly having to zoom out, overlook everything that's going on and trying to find fault. Well, I couldn't. Our foot teams were well organised. The communication was strong, and we fairly seamlessly sort of leapfrog each other to stick with the hunt. I noticed that the groups were all pretty fit. And, you know, we only lost sight of the hunt for about 10, 15 minutes. Now, when they were out for 4 hours and 10 minutes, that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I'm really glad you're noticing everyone's really fit as well, because we've all been training really hard over the summer. And in fact, I think my foot team covered about 17 kilometres that weekend. But it really was worth it to see the huntsman getting more and more frustrated as we kept the hunt and the hounds moving, meaning that he never really had the opportunity to cast them in the woods, because of course we had cameras on him.
Yeah, towards the end of the day, he did get a bit more belligerent and he did cast them right in front of us.
Yeah. And also now we have great footage stored up of him sending the hounds into the cover.
Well, there you go. You know, what he's done is just gifted us with evidence concomitant to illegal fox hunting,
Yep.
followed by further evidence of a fox fleeing the same cover that he was entering his hounds into.
Yeah, of course. I was actually in the car with my foot team. We were at the side of the road waiting for the next deployment when a fox came fleeing right across the road in front of us. And it's always such a surprise to see a fox, because mostly we keep the hunt on the move. We keep the huntsman from actually sending hounds into the woods. And so therefore we're not seeing the foxes being scared out of the woods. But on this occasion, we had lost the hunt for 10 minutes or so. And unfortunately, they did manage to scare a fox out of the woods.
Yeah, they did flush a fox out towards the end. But, you know, that's where the constant communication and fitness is everything, because the team who had just lost sight of the hunt prior to that incident were able to give location and direction of travel of the hunt to the groups ahead, who could then position themselves to be waiting for the hunt. they predicted it very well, which allowed the navigator and driver of your team to know where to drop you off, where you guys had to get out, and be able to put yourselves in between the hounds and the fox they were obviously hunting.
Yeah, they were so blatantly hunting that fox. I mean, even before we saw the hunt, we could hear the hounds. They were in full cry, which means that they start really sort of barking and yelping and just getting really excited because they are on the scent of a fox. And so we all shot out of the vehicle. We sprayed citronella to cover the scent of the fox, which thank goodness we did, because literally within seconds, the hounds came charging through. They were fixed on the scent of the fox, but fortunately they lost it because when they hit the road, we'd covered it in citronella. Then our scout team, who are incredibly fast, soon arrived, and they were able to run through to the next field, spraying citronella to cover the line of the fox, to be sure the scent wasn't rediscovered on the other side of the road.
Yeah, you guys did very well. If it hadn't been for what you all did, that fox would have been chased until its lungs burst and it physically couldn't run any longer and then collapsed on the floor, and the hounds would have pounced upon it, and we know what happens then. I mean, my only regret is that we did lose the hunt for a moment, and in that time they were able to terrorize an innocent life, but we made sure that was as brief as possible.
Yeah. It's just disgusting, and that's why, for as long as there are people psychotic enough to find enjoyment in this grotesque sport, I'm going to be out there with the rest of the group every week that I can, and I know everyone else as well, doing everything we can to stop it.
Yeah, you're right. It's despicable what they do, and it's not just the foxes who suffer. Earlier that day, we saw a herd of around 30 deer fleeing from the hunt across roads. And their own hounds suffer too. Over the years, we've all seen too many hounds injured. I've lost count, certainly. And some of those injuries have been fatal. I've seen a hound hit by a car before on the A14. It's not very nice. And the hunts don't care. The hounds are tools to them. And that's all. That's all. And it could have happened. It could have happened on Saturday as well. On those roads, a lot of those roads are 60-mile-an-hour roads. They're bendy roads. So it's fairly obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly insane that they'd ever go anywhere near a road with so many hounds, and yet they've been constantly on them. Like at the end of the hunt, when they were heading back to the meet, they travelled along the road for a good 5 minutes, creating a massive traffic jam.
Yeah, and it also lays bare the lie of trail hunting. If they're following a trail, well, are they so incompetent that they lay that trail across busy country roads, or are they in fact not following a trail and hunting a live fox who might go across the road to try to seek sanctuary? I mean, the incident you refer to on the way back, the other thing with this huntsman is he has very poor hound control, and one of the reasons they held the roads up so badly on the way home was because they were trying to regather the hounds as they were going. And a lot of the motorists were very, very angry. There were lots of horns blown, lots of motorists. Residents even came out of their houses and were having to go at the hunt. The hunt are not liked around there. So when they say that it's a countryside tradition and they represent the rural community, it's absolute claptrap. People don't like them. They cause mayhem. I mean, that traffic jam was probably the first traffic jam Shalford had seen in some time.
Exactly.
But they don't seem to care.
Yeah.
As long as they can get away with doing what they want to do.
Yeah, no, the huntsman, he didn't care. He just kept on plodding along at the front, looking pretty miserable after a failed day of hunting, to be fair.
Well, that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a bad day of hunting is a successful day of hunt sabotage for us.
Yeah. It really was. And Philip, on that note, I think it's time we head over for our first topic talk.
Great. See you there.
Right, welcome back. So let's get into our first topic talk. And we're going to try and break down the archaic world of fox hunting and really look at what we do each time we go out on a hit.
Let's go for it.
Anyone who's ever spent any time in the countryside, or anyone who lives in the countryside, will be really familiar with the quite bucolic sight of a huntsman in a red jacket, dozens of field riders on beautifully groomed horses, and packs of hounds moving through the fields. Now, that scene goes back centuries, before Dickens, but there's quite a dark side to it, isn't there, Philip? Because it's not just a bunch of people going out for a Saturday afternoon ride, is it?
No, it's not. They're going out to enjoy animal abuse and disguising it as a tradition. Okay. Each time they set off from their meat location, their sole aim is to terrorize and murder an innocent life belonging to an animal that can't defend itself. And I do believe, and I can't stress enough, how if the vast majority of the public were able to witness a so-called successful hunt, how absolutely disgusted and horrified they would be. You know, those 20 or 30 hounds, well, that's dogs to the rest of us, that you mentioned, are sent into thick covers or woods to disturb a fox from its habitat, chase it, preferably for several miles, because that's what these people like. They like to chase until the creature is exhausted, out of breath, and simply can't carry on. And then it will be killed. And when the fox is finally caught, they do kill it. Absolutely, they do. They will claim it was an accident. And of course, pre-ban, they had other lies, one of which was that the fox felt nothing. It was a quick nip to the neck, all sorts of nonsense like that. No, it's not. The way the hounds will kill the fox is they will pin it down to the ground. The fox will naturally roll over. The hounds will pile in on top of it, and they will go for the softest part. They will eviscerate the fox. They will tear its insides out. And footage has proven that the fox is still alive usually when this is happening as well. It sees it happening. The animal knows what's happening to it. It's sick. And it has, this sort of thing has, I don't think it's ever had a place, but it certainly doesn't have a place in the 21st century.
I mean, to be part of that, that's just not normal civilized behavior, is it? I mean, it really is quite psychopathic. I mean, how could anyone pretend that it's acceptable is beyond me. And you're right. I mean, it's no accident. They can say whatever they like, but, you know, being out there week in, week out, we've seen exactly how these so-called accidents are unfolding before us. I mean, like you said just now, the huntsman sends his hounds into the thick woods and the coverts, and those areas are just simply impossible for someone who's supposedly laying a trail to get into. I mean, they're thick with thorns and undergrowth, so who on earth would lay a trail through there? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I'll tell you what's in there. There's a fox hiding from the hunt's hounds.
It's impossible. We have no end of footage that we have shown to the police, that we have taken into Parliament in our dealings through the new hunting ban, that shows how being entered into areas, as you say, that would contain foxes, but a human couldn't get into. No human could get into. You know, a fox could, a badger could, a dog can, but not a human. And, you know, gathering that sort of evidence is why we always teach new sabs to the group who are out running when they're out with the hunt, to always have their cameras on and ready, because there is no plausible excuse a hunt can have for sending their hounds into these areas. And even if they don't put a fox up and chase it, the evidence, the footage of them putting these hounds into these impossible to reach areas for humans is good evidence in itself. Not for a criminal prosecution, because the way the law is currently written doesn't allow for it, but it's good for our lobbying. It's good for our lobbying with the police. It gets the police to back off us, leave us alone on a Saturday afternoon to go and do our good work. It helps us convince MPs. And we gather other evidence as well. It's not just simply the sending of the hounds into a cover to find a so-called trail. It's also the noises that the huntsman will make, like the burring noise, which is a noise that's known to upset foxes, to get their attention, to get them moving. Now, we know from literature that's existed pre-ban, of which I have a fair amount behind me, that that's exactly what they used to do when fox hunting was legal. So why hasn't that behaviour changed if they're following smelly rag?
Yep. No, you're exactly right, which is why you wouldn't, for example, catch a huntsman on a clean boot or a drag hunt making those ridiculous noises, because a trail of scent is definitely not affected by a burr or scared by a burr. But I am, and, you know, when I hear that noise, that feeling when you're out in the field and you can hear that burring going on while the hounds are in the woods, I mean, you're just praying that the huntsman doesn't succeed in startling a fox. It's just such a tense moment, isn't it? I mean, that's at that point, we'd start calling and shouting commands like, heads up, leave it, back to him. I mean, frankly, all the words that the huntsman should be using to call them back, but we're trying to cover up the burrs and also bring the hounds back. You know, technically we are doing the job of the huntsman, but of course they don't want to do it because they want to kill a fox. So many in our group, for example, have learned how to use a horn so that they can call the hounds back easier, which is, again, what the huntsman should be doing. But when those hounds go into cry, then, you know, it's too late. I mean, you've just got to hope that the fox has broken free from where it's hiding without being detected, except See, that's what the point rider is for, right?
Yeah, the point rider is, again, very, very common sight in pre-ban fox hunting, and the point of a point rider is to watch for foxes breaking from a cover and then to alert the huntsman. It's usually quite a joy to watch a hunter explain why a point rider is present. If they're
Yeah.
truly on a trail hunt, like they say. Yeah. So essentially, the role of a point rider is to position themselves on the other side of a small or a large cover to look for any foxes fleeing the wood who haven't yet been detected. And once again, there is never any need for a rider to be on point for a genuine trail hunt, as a trail isn't suddenly going to shoot off. What are they going to do? Watch where the trail was laid? It's not going anywhere. It's a smell. So,
I mean, that's when we're out sabbing. We always look to the point rider. We need to pay specific attention to them, as they're often the first to spot the fox, and they'll then signal that to the huntsman or the hounds by blowing their horn and then riding off after the fox. And we, of course, try to spray the citronella to mask the scent of the fox. If we don't make it in time, then the chase begins.
yeah, and when the chase begins, it's so important we make sure we know the path of the fox so we can mask its scent. Because for the first time in that day, those hounds are following the trail. That's the only time they are following the trail. And it's the trail laid by the fox, not a runner with a smelly rag.
Exactly, the trail of the fox. And at this moment, the warning lights are blaring, and we're doing everything we possibly can to stop this pursuit. I mean, it doesn't matter how exhausted you are. You might have been going for hours. When you're in that foot team and you're with the hunt, then you've just got to push on through, push yourselves to stick with them. And, we do.
And, that's one thing I often say to hunt subs. You can be tired later on. We have to in the there and then. The hunt aren't going to say, well, oh, poor, look at Phil. He's starting to flag a little bit. Let's wait for him. They're going to go hell for leather. They're glad we're tired. Our drones are godsend. When we can put them up to keep tabs on the hunt and provide directions to the other groups as to where they'll need to deploy to cover the scent of the fox, or even to pre-spray citronella, it makes life a hell of a lot easier. Whilst all that is happening, the first team who are after the hunt, if they've fallen behind, they're being collected and redeployed ahead again. The old leapfrogging thing. And we will have people on the ground who are designated camera persons who will be there to gather the other evidence, such as the huntsman encouraging the hounds after that fox.
Yeah. This can go on for about half an hour, can't it, at times, as the fox is a hell of a lot faster than the hounds. I mean, the hounds are deliberately bred to be slower, but they ultimately have much more stamina.
Yeah, so that's, well, I mean, a chase can be several seconds, or it can be a couple of hours. When we're around, what we're trying to do is eliminate any chase at all. But yeah, that's where these people get their sport from. As you alluded to, the hounds have been over generations, hundreds of years, bred to be just a bit slower than the fox. A fox, from a standing start, in a sprint rather, is faster than your average foxhound. But the foxhound will have way more stamina. And that's where hunting with hounds gets its so-called sport from. It's not just them. It's the same with other types of hunting with dogs as well. Beagle packs, much the same sort of thing when they go after hares. So yeah, and that's a common thread through all types of hunting with hounds. The dogs will always be bred to be more stamina and have more stamina, but not be quite as fast.
And also, what people often don't realize is that the scent of the fox actually comes from the adrenaline secreted through their paws. It's a very, very, very delicate scent, apparently, and it's very, very specific. So that's why certain conditions have to be right in order for the hounds to pick up that scent.
In the right condition, the reason they speak of the right conditions, and again, there's loads of literature pre-ban that describes this and discusses it, is so that the scent will hang around for longer. So when it's a reasonable temperature, when the ground is a little bit damp but not too wet, when the wind isn't too strong at all, or better yet, no wind at all, and conditions are clear, they're the best sort of conditions for the scent of a fox to hang around. If it's raining, the scent will wash away sooner. If the ground's too wet, the scent will disperse on the ground too quickly. If it's windy, the scent will blow all over the place and you can see the hounds. And I've seen that happen. I was on a drone watching it. I've seen on the drone the fox go one way, and then after a little while, the hounds come along and they just start creeping over that way. And you think the fox didn't go that way, and then you realise there's a strong wind. Now Often, when a fox is being pursued, it will try to find cover somewhere. It will try to go to ground. This could be in a badger set. It could be down a rabbit hole if there was a particularly large one. It could be in a barn, under a stick pile. And that behavior from a fox creates another job position within the hunt, which is, what are you going to tell me?
It is the terrier man, a really rather unpleasant character, to say the least. Now, they're not normally typically formally members of the hunt like the whippering. They're actually often people who work on the farms, farm labourers or whatever. They're often paid cash in hand or given perks like being able to follow the hunt with their quad bikes. And that's because the hunt likes to distance themselves from the terrier men, who will work hand in glove for them, doing what is blatantly the illegal work of pursuing the fox underground. And also they outsource their violence to them as well, and their aggression towards us. So that's always on behalf of the hunt, as well as you were about to say, digging up a fox which has gone to ground.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right of the sort of character that terrier men are. When, we get lots of allegations leveled at us as hunt saboteurs. One is that of jealousy, that we're jealous of these people, or this is class warfare. My answer to that allegation is to paint a picture of a terrier man, which is what you've just done. They're certainly not of the great and good. They work for them. And yeah, so back to terrier work. It works on plausible deniability. If a fox goes to ground, the hounds will signify this to the huntsman or whipper in by excitedly barking outside area X, whatever it is they've gone into, and surrounding it. They're trying to get in, but obviously they can't. This is when the terrier men will turn up, usually on their quad bikes. They will have on their quad bikes a box with a terrier dog, usually inside it. This is where the name comes from, terrier dog. And those little dogs will be usually sent in then into a badger set, for example, to attempt to flush the fox out of another hole to be chased again. That's what they do. These terrier men on their quad bikes will also have other instruments designed to get a fox out. So I've seen them with drainage rods, where they'll take them out, fit them together, and shove it into whatever hole the fox is, or whatever crevice under a stick pile the fox has gone into.
Does the hunt actually want the terrier dog to kill the fox? Is that what they're waiting for?
No. They want the terrier men, with or without their dog, or whatever method they're using, to try to flush the fox again, to bolt the fox to run again, usually to get it out from its cover and running again, because they want the chase then to carry on. But they don't necessarily want the terrier dog to get into a scrap underground with the fox. They want it to scare the fox out from hiding.
Gosh, I mean, it's just so disgusting and horrible to think of, isn't it? I mean, we've both got dogs. When I think about my little Ziggy, she's part of my family. She's got a favourite spot on the sofa. And to think of her, or indeed, any other dog, being used like these terrier dogs, I mean, it's just awful. It makes me feel so sick. And it's not just what goes on underground. I mean, even the way the dogs are loaded into those boxes on the quads. When you watch those quad bikes, like jolting and bumping over a ploughed field like that, all you can think of is the terrified little dogs being thrown around in that box. I mean, anyone who's listening to this, just take a minute, if you're interested, and look up photos of terrier men and think of the terrified little dogs in those boxes, and imagine your dog in that box.
That sort of treatment of an animal, any animal, is undefendable. Sort of rub salt into the wound as well when one considers that there's no reason for a terrier man to be present with his terrier box, with the instruments I've just mentioned, including the animal, if the hunt was simply following a trail. That is why, through our dealings with the new hunting ban, we are trying to get far tighter restrictions on the presence of terrier men at a hunt.
Oh, the Hunting Act. I mean, that was brought out 20 years ago with so many loopholes and exemptions and everything. And that's why fox hunting still goes on, despite it being technically illegal.
Yeah. So the Hunting Act is little more than a waste of a tree. To sum it up, the only real benefit that it has given us as hunt saboteurs is it gives us enough, in practical terms, on the ground. It gives us enough to get around the offence of aggravated trespass most of the time. You can tell by looking at the Hunting Act, and from people I've spoken to, lawyers, police officers, MPs, and they all agree that it appears to have been deliberately watered down to make it more palatable to the hunters. And I think Tony Blair made the classic politician's mistake, and he tried to keep both sides happy. That's what he got wrong. And it certainly kept one side happy, and it reduced the risk of arrest slightly for hunt saboteurs. Gave the police a bloody nightmare, because now they can't remove either side. And so they end up being referees between two warring parties whenever the two sides come together, which uses up a hell of a lot of police resources, police time. The hunter to blame for it, or Tony Blair's new Labour to blame for it, or both of them.
Exactly. And that's why, as well as sabbing in the field, we're also looking at ways of changing the law and tightening it up, or bringing in a new act, or whatever it takes to finally knock this on the head forever.
Yeah, we are. And we'll look more into that in later episodes.
Yeah. And there really is just so much we have to go through. But, just to kind of remind ourselves what it looks like each time we go out into the field, I really want to touch on what it is our group actually does look like, because I know, a lot of people have ideas about hunt saboteurs, and I know people are quite shocked when they find out I'm a hunt saboteur. I don't seem to fit the picture of like young troublemaker, someone out to start a fight or something like that. I mean, that's not who we are at all, is it, Philip?
No. Funny enough, people say the same to me.
I don't believe that.
What is the bill? What is it? No, it isn't. Obviously I vet, and not just me, but it's mostly me who does the vetting of potential recruits, and it doesn't matter who you are on the outside, so long as you're decent. We have nearly 40 members, all of whom are from different walks of life, cultures, backgrounds, ages. I think our age range is all the way from sort of early 20s up to mid 60s at the moment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone brings something to it. You don't have a certain level of fitness matters, but you don't have to be super duper fit. More mature people bring life experience, and that's invaluable. What I do look for is that people want to join us for the right reason, which is animal welfare, not because they're an anarchist coming out looking for a punch up. They can be an anarchist, but they can't be an anarchist who's coming out looking to punch a so-called toff. We don't want that. What these hunters are doing is against the law, these people breaking the law, and it sticks two fingers up to the law and at the rest of us that they, for some reason or many reasons, are allowed to get away with it. And it rubs me up the wrong way as well. But you have to do what's best for the pursued animal and not your own feelings. I get angry too. I get very angry too. And it's been a real lesson in life over the past 10 years, channeling that negative anger into positive action. That is a real life skill, which I didn't have until I was into my early 30s and got involved in this.
I know there's a hell of a lot about hunting that rubs me up the wrong way as well. But, as you say, that's why we all do what we do.
Now, I hope you've all gained a bit of a better understanding into how we do what we do.
We've covered a fair bit today, haven't we? Though I'm sure there's still much more we'll be picking up in later episodes. But just to summarise, when we're sabotaging a hunt, we're focusing on stopping a fox being found by calling the hunts out of areas like woods and so on, and then helping to mask the scent of the fleeing fox by spraying diluted citronella behind them, all the while constantly gathering evidence of what it is these pretend trail hunts are doing, so that hopefully we can get some prosecutions.
Yeah, I'd say that sums up what we do pretty well.
So that's our first episode. Philip, people might have questions. How do they contact us?
They can find us on Facebook, North London Hunt Saboteurs. They can find us on Instagram, or they can email us at northlondonhuntsabs@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And if anyone wants to make a donation, they can also contact us through those social media channels as well. So can't wait to see everybody next week. And Philip, see you in the field.
Lovely. Thank you very much. See you there.
See you there.